Hello, welcome to another video from BetfairTradingCommunity.com. We're going to do a betting preview for the Premier League season, which is starting soon. I know a lot of people are really interested in this, can't wait for the start of the season. The one thing I will say is that I think it's going to be a great season because there's a lot of teams that did quite well towards the end of last season. It was a bit of a one-horse race in the end, and the teams getting relegated were relegated very early on. But there was a lot of competition for those Champions League places, so it should be an exciting season. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to head over to my screen on Betfair here. I'm going to kind of do a bit of a blind run. I'm going to do a blind test on the odds and have a look at where I think there might be some potential value. But more importantly, kind of preview where the teams are at and where I think they'll potentially finish this season. So it's going to be a bit of fun. Hopefully you'll enjoy the video. I'd be interested to know how you think teams are going to do. Who's your dark horse this season? Who do you think is going to perform better than the odds suggest they will? Put that team name in the comments and we can look back on this in May and see how close you were. So obviously we start with Liverpool, Bournemouth here. Interestingly, the odds are pretty liquid even though the games are a few weeks off here. Shows how desperate really people are to get the proper football back in action, as am I. I don't really like this summer break. It goes on quite a long time for me. So yeah, Liverpool short odds here. Probably, actually, I'd suggest maybe too short. That is a short price. The only thing that concerns me with Bournemouth is that, because they had a really good season last year, they are selling players left, right and centre. Now obviously they might they might have bought players by the time this video even goes out, or they might buy some before the start of the season, even after this video goes out. But keep an eye on this one. One thing that interested me, thinking of Liverpool actually, was I was listening to TalkSport the other day, and Danny Murphy was talking about how when you see these early fixtures, you see this early fixture list, you get excited because you go, well, there's 3 points there, there's 3 points there. And he said the funny thing was, every year you'd be totally wrong about which games you'd get the points in. You know, you might get 3 points in the game you weren't expecting to get any in, but then lose to a team you were expecting to beat. Some of these early season results can be crazy, okay? And also, teams need to get into a flow. Liverpool will have not played competitive football for a while before this. Okay, assume, maybe the Community Shield, if you're going to count that as a competitive game, might help them a little bit there. But yeah, I think this looks like quite a short price to me. We'll see. Obviously, if Bournemouth don't just keep selling everyone, they might be in for a rough season. We'll see who they manage to sign. But they seem to be a well-run club with a good manager. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's an interesting first fixture, right? And just having a look down here, see if there's anything that jumps out at me in these first round of matches. I mean, there might not be, and that's fine. Brighton, Fulham. Fulham, often underestimated here. Brighton odds on. Not sure I'd have them odds on. Probably have them around evens here, so maybe a touch of value there. But again, remember, and this is something that's really important to think about when you're trading football on Betfair. You're not necessarily always looking for who's going to win. So take Liverpool, Bournemouth, for example. If you go to me, well, who's more likely to win that match? Obviously Liverpool, right? But the point is value, right? For me to back something at 1.37, I've got to have almost 100% conviction that I think this thing's going to win, because you're not going to get a huge margin of profit. You need a high strike rate to make money when you're betting £100 only to make £37 profit. And that's not even including commission, okay? So always bear that in mind. The great thing with Betfair trading is you don't really always have to pick the winners. Say you go to this Liverpool-Bournemouth game. Well, say Bournemouth are really strong in their first half and it's 0-0 at half-time, or they get an early goal. You're going to be able to trade out for a good profit in both of those scenarios. Now, that might not happen, of course, but the point is, you could have that profit in the bag. Second half, Liverpool score 4 goals and win 4-1. It doesn't matter. You picked the wrong team to win, but you picked a circumstance and you took advantage of that by trading. And again, this is where trading can come in and be such a valuable tool. Always look at these matches, not in terms of who's definitely going to win, but rather, do they win as often as the market suggests? I think Brighton beat Fulham around 50% of the time in this scenario, okay? But they are slightly shorter odds than that, so perhaps a touch of value there. Just having a look here. Sunderland, West Ham. It'd be interesting to see how the teams coming up perform. The market's kind of assuming that Sunderland have a really good shot in this one. Be interesting to see who West Ham sign. But that's what I might keep my eye on here, just to see how they play out early. Tottenham Burnley again is another one where you'd expect Tottenham to win this, but new manager, things have changed a lot there. Again, first game of the season. I wouldn't want to be taking those odds. Would I want to lay them? I'd like to see how Burnley start. If Burnley look good at the start, but it is such a jump now. We're really seeing that jump from the Championship to the Premier League is huge now for teams. Okay, let's have a look at the final few games here. Nothing standing out that amazingly. Again, Wolves, Man City. Now, Wolves are one of those clubs. They finished the season really strong. They could be interesting at this price. If you're getting Man City, I don't know how it's going to settle, but let's say Man City at 1.5 away from home here. Playing the Club World Cup, not having much of a break, is it going to have a big impact on them? But do I think they win this? Yeah. Do I think they win it most of the time? Probably. Do I have this near a 1.66, 1.7? Yes. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's talking about marginal pieces of value. You're not talking about, I think, let's say I think Wolves are slight value here, at least not to lose, right? I'm not saying that they definitely can't lose. But this is the mindset. I really want to get this into your heads today because so many people get stuck in this mindset of, I've just got to pick who I think is going to win. And that's why so many people just back the favourites and lose their money in the long run. We know that punters, bookies love it when you back the favourites because that's how they make their money. Chelsea are another one I look at here where I haven't been that impressed with Chelsea. I'm not that impressed with a lot of their signings. I think their transfer policy, quite frankly, is abysmal. So this would be another one. Palace on a real high after last season. If they manage to hold on to their players, their manager, that's a huge, huge thing for them. Won the FA Cup, were phenomenal in that final. I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea start slow out of the blocks here. Again, could win 4-0. But the point is, you're more thinking in terms of value. Around that 1.7 mark, I might be tempted to lay that, especially if Palace look decent at the start of the game. And that's how I'd look at a lot of these games, first game of the season. Make sure you watch the first few minutes before you enter any trades and decide what you're going to do. Man United, Arsenal. Man United look quite short at that price, even at home. Problem is, Man United often do quite well against Arsenal, don't they, traditionally, when you don't think or don't expect them to. But yeah, that club is all over the place, isn't it? I'm not convinced about hammering at all. And then Leeds, Everton. Leeds favourites. And again, we're talking about how difficult this jump up a league is. I think that I'm not sure I'd have them favourites myself here. Again, not saying they can't win it, but you got to think in terms of they've just come up a league. Everton, who actually did really well towards the end of last season, Moyes that came in and did a phenomenal job. They're going to be very hard to beat. That'll be another one I look at there on the Monday night game. Again, you want to see a few minutes first. But let's get on to some of the outrights, because I think the outrights are where the most interest is right now, because they're the ones that we can look at trading throughout the season. So I'm going to look at Premier League winner. See if it kind of aligns with what I think. Okay, and I do. And this is a blind test. I like doing this. I like looking at odds before. I don't like to look at odds before I've thought about how the league season's going to go. I like to think about how it's going to go and then check the odds and see how close kind of my thoughts are on it. Liverpool and Arsenal were the two I was looking at and thinking, I think those two are going to should be the favourites here. And I'm kind of surprised that the market agrees with me, only because Liverpool was such a big underdog last year, and I kept saying they're really strong. I think they're going to win it, and I think they were 5-1 even early on when they were doing really well, because everyone just thought Man City and Arsenal were going to come through here. I think Arsenal are the biggest challengers to Liverpool this season. I think, but I just see the foundation that Liverpool put in, and it's tough to look beyond them. I wouldn't want to back Arsenal at this price. I think if they were around that Liverpool price last year, I might be tempted. Man City, you can never really count them out, but I just feel like there's something lacking at Man City at the moment. I don't know. I feel like that aura of invincibility is gone. I think it's going to be tough for them this year. Annoyingly, looking at this, I think the odds are about right. I know some people have had Chelsea as their dark horses. I don't really see that. You can probably tell from my earlier comments, I'm not really rating Chelsea that much at the moment. Yeah, they finished fairly strong, but let's not get overexcited about them beating Forest. Like Forest kind of petered out a bit towards the end of the season when that was a team that overachieved. Let's not talk about Forest, like they're, Arsenal or Liverpool or Man City here, right? Let's be realistic about this. Chelsea's results were good towards the end of the season. They were the year before. In fact, they started last season and they were pushing towards the top end. I feel like it fell away quite a lot with Chelsea, and I'm not convinced. But then again, maybe I've just been put off by this Club World Cup where they haven't looked that special so far. I mean, maybe they'll turn it around, but from what I've seen so far, they haven't. They got absolutely smashed by Flamenco the other day. So yeah, this is about where I'd have it. I mean, I'm going to be back in Man United even at 36, which is, I mean, imagine saying that 15 years ago. You wouldn't even back Man United to win the title at 36. It's almost unthinkable, isn't it? Still sixth favourites despite finishing. So did they finish 17th or 16th? I can't remember. I mean, they could have got relegated. Do you know, realistically, if one of the relegated teams was half decent, United would have been relegated last year. It would have been mad. And then these other teams were kind of vying for. Annoyingly, Betfair doesn't have the top four because that market can be a really interesting one here, and I think you've got a lot of teams that would be vying for it. Putting Chelsea here as fourth place, aren't they, in the betting odds? And then Newcastle. I'd like to see what Newcastle do in this transfer window, if they can really push on. And Tottenham, what are they? So they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th favourites. Favourites to finish 7th, and they really did. But Frank, a heck of a man. He's done a heck of a job. I'm surprised that managers like Frank didn't get a big opportunity sooner. Like, why would you go for Postecoglou and not go for someone like Frank when it's clear he was available and wanted the job? So, and it's in London still. I just don't get it. But, I don't know. It's just when you do well with these unfashionable clubs, it doesn't seem to do you many favours compared to other teams that don't do that well. I mean, think about Villa hiring Gerrard, off the back of not really anything. Lampard getting all these opportunities with Chelsea. Players getting these opportunities, whereas someone like Thomas Frank, why hasn't he got the opportunity? No disrespect to Brentford, but his achievements should have merited a better club sooner, especially if he had those kind of ambitions. Let's look at relegation briefly then. I don't think it's weird because last year the winners market was one where I saw a lot of value, and this is okay. Sometimes you will look at football markets and go, I don't see any particular value here. I think the market's right. And most of the time in Betfair, the market is right. Even when I was looking at those Prem games, what was there? 2 or 3 games that interested me from a trading perspective. But that meant that 70% of them I thought were right, okay? That's kind of where it should be, 70-80%, and then it's those 20 to 30% of games you're looking for where you think the market has got it slightly wrong, and maybe only 10% you even end up trading. But the point is that the market's not going to be wrong in every single match. It's about finding those matches where you think, they're wrong about this, they're overestimating this team. And that's where following football a lot, watching football, watching the betting markets, understanding how Betfair works, things like that really help you as a Betfair trader. I always recommend, people say to me, what can I do? How can I help improve my Betfair trading? Just really easily in 5 minutes. Say, go and watch the football market. Watch what happens in it. Start to learn the patterns and the flows. And that information just becomes invaluable to you over the years. And so, yeah, let's have a look at relegation here. I mean, look, wow. I mean, this is really clear, isn't it? 3 up, 3 down again. So for the last 2 seasons, the 3 teams that have come up from the Championship have gone back down again. And the market is clearly saying they will do that again. With the, Sunderland, Burnley, heavy odds on, especially Sunderland. Leeds, the market's actually saying that they're actually odds on to survive slightly. But then look at the odds of all the other teams. There's no one else close to 2.08. Wolves are the next best at 4.8. Then Brentford at 5.1. Do you know what? Brentford will be a really interesting one. It's the kind of situation where I'd go, that could be trouble for them, losing Frank. That could be a real problem for them. But I keep thinking that. I thought that when Bournemouth got rid of their manager. I've thought that about Fulham. I thought about a lot of these teams, Everton, and they just seem Brighton, and they just seem to be able to replace these managers and do it time and time. It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, Brighton's relegation odds aren't much different to Man City or Man United. Now, I guess in the Man City one is more to do with the charges that are against them, which we still haven't heard about, have we, after all this time? But Man United, I mean, to think that Man United's odds actually technically, although the market's not completely liquid here, are slightly shorter than Brighton. So it's a mad world, isn't it? But yeah, neither of those teams are going to get relegated, I don't think. Even Man United, although I think they're going to have to change manager if they want to make sure of that. And West Ham's an interesting one here at 7.6. It's difficult because I don't massively disagree with this market either, but I think if you're looking for a bigger price, kind of have a bit of a very small punt on maybe West Ham, maybe Brentford. I think Wolves are going to do pretty well. I think they picked up towards the end of the season. I don't think they're going to get relegated. I hope that Leeds stay up. I think Farke struggled when Norwich got in the Premier League. He really, really struggled. Can he learn from that with a bit more of a budget, bigger club? Can he perform better with it? He's a great manager in the Championship, obviously. But, I mean, no one's going to be surprised that it's 3 up, 3 down. But if you just want to punt on bigger odds, potentially a spot of value, I think the best one here is West Ham at 7.6. I mean, you could look at Bournemouth if they keep selling players and don't buy anyone. But West Ham, they were fighting for their survival for a long time last season. And they didn't do that well. Like, you can look at Tottenham and United and go, okay, well, they were distracted by the European competition. That was why they... And I think there was an element of that. I don't think Tottenham and Man United would have fallen that far if it wasn't for the Europa League final. I think they might have won a couple of those games and been closer to kind of maybe 13th, something like that. I don't think they were getting top half finish no matter what, don't get me wrong. So maybe West Ham 7.6, you might be able to get 7.8 here. Little tickle on that maybe to get just a tiny bit, but again, that is a bit of an outside one. You're just kind of hoping that it does tank for them. Looking at the schedule is quite an interesting one as well, so we'll do that just to conclude. So I've got the fixtures up here, and we've already seen the first round. Now West Ham, they've got a winnable game here, but if Sunderland win this game, that is going to put them under a lot of pressure. Sunderland at home, crowd will be so buzzing, so excited about the new season. I think that could be one that West Ham potentially, we'll see what happens there. It's one to watch the start of. But like I say, we've had a look at these first fixtures already, haven't we? Wolves have got a tough game, which might explain their odds a bit. Again, Leeds have a game that the market says they think they can win. But I think it's going to be tough for them. So you're looking at these teams who've come up and you're going fairly tough opening weekend. Tottenham away for Burnley again. Not one that you'd be loving to get as your first fixture. Then Burnley play Sunderland. So potentially, if Burnley can win this or Sunderland can win this, it does give them a good leg up. One of the key things, when you're in that relegation battle, you have to beat the teams around you. You have to beat those other teams who came up. And one thing that always used to frustrate me as a Norwich fan is when you went up, the amount, we'd win the Championship, then we'd go and play the team that came second, and they beat us. And it's like, we were battering them last year. Why have they jumped ahead of us? They haven't done anything particularly. Stuff like that used to wind me up because I know how important these games are for the relegated teams. But yeah, it's going to be a fascinating start. Newcastle, Liverpool, what a game that'll be early on, by the way. I don't think this is the easiest start for Liverpool. Arsenal as well in the first game. Let's have a look. What's the fourth game here for Liverpool? Away at Burnley. You expect to win it, but never an easy place to go, Burnley. So yeah, interesting, isn't it? Interesting look at these markets, kind of try and get a feel, spot some, try and find some value, but of course, we know that anything can happen at the start of these seasons. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you want any help with your Betfair trading, head over to betfairtradingcommunity.com. Obviously, your football trading is all taken care of there. We have software that helps you create strategies, get your selections each day instantly so that you know what to trade. Also, we can give you a strategy to start with. So a lot of people loving that, the fact we just give them one and go, right, here you go, start with this. Here's how it works. We put it into the software for you so you have it automatically. It's there. You can use that either to trade or to use it as an example of something that you can use to create your own. Now, we are also doing a 50% offer on the first month. So if you sign up for a month, you get it for 50% off on the first month. So you can kind of see whether you like it at a very cheap price and then decide whether you want to carry on with it. Obviously, it will roll over. So if you do want to cancel, you would need to cancel before the next payment. But yeah, 50% off your first month. We know that people saying the cost of living has hit them quite hard. So we want to give you this opportunity now. People who are going, I really want to be a member, but I can't spend any money. This is now there, so virtually anyone can afford the amount that it is now. It's next to nothing. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've enjoyed this preview of the Premier League season. And I hope it's a great one. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you make some money on it trading on Betfair. In the comments, let me know, who do you think is going to win the league? Who do you think is going to get relegated? Did you spot any value in those odds that I've just shown? Did you see something that could be value there? Now, if you want the strategies, we've got some strategies. If you want our free strategies, just either say the number 3 or the word 3, and we'll send them over to you. We've actually got 3 free strategies. I don't know if I said that right, but anyway, you know what I mean, that we can send over to you, and that would be great. All right, everyone, have a great week. And like I say, I hope you make some money trading on Betfair.